peace deal.
A planned meeting on Wednesday between top US, British, French and Ukrainian diplomats to push for a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine has been scrapped at the last minute amid little sign of progress in international efforts to end the war. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy announced the talks in London would involve only lower-ranking officials after the US State Department said on Tuesday that Secretary of State Marco Rubio was unable to attend because of a scheduling issue. Rubio's abrupt cancellation raises doubts about the direction of the negotiations and comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ruled out ceding territory to Russia as part of any potential peace agreement, calling it a non-starter.
Police and soldiers are still searching for the attackers responsible for killing at least 26 tourists visiting Baizaran Meadow in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Multiple checkpoints have been set up across the region. Police call it a terror attack and blame militants fighting against Indian rule. An Olympic watchdog embroiled in scandal has fired its chief operating officer.
The U.S. Center for Safe Sport has fired CEO Jerice Colon. Colon's departure is the latest and most visceral sign of a crisis that began after revelations the center had hired an investigator who would later be charged with rape. The center announced Colon's departure in an email sent to the Associated Press on Tuesday. It brought an abrupt end to a tenure that began in 2019 when she was hired to help bring the then 2-year-old center, which was established to combat sex abuse in Olympic sports, up to full speed. I'm Gethin Kulba.
This is AP News. Ben Thomas reports a federal judge has accused the Trump administration of acting in bad faith in the Abrego Garcia deportation case.
A federal judge has given the Trump administration until Wednesday evening to explain exactly why information about steps it's taken to free Kilmar Abrego Garcia from prison in El Salvador should be considered state secrets. Abrego Garcia is the Maryland man mistakenly deported more than a month ago. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes has previously ordered the administration to provide the information, and in an order Tuesday wrote the government has sought refuge behind vague and unsubstantiated assertions of privilege for weeks. She accuses the administration of using those claims as a shield to obstruct discovery and evade compliance with the court's orders, calling it a willful and bad faith refusal. She adds that ends now. I'm Ben Thomas.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops, a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, low near 54. By Thursday, sunshine, high of 76 degrees. Friday, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy skies, and a high around 70. Saturday, sunshine, high 57. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the April 23rd, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Catch me on Substack. Had a really I guess you could say, lively conversation or responses to some emails that folks had sent to me regarding my post that I put up yesterday on Substack regarding, as we call it, I call it the message to young guns, a message to David Hogg and the young guns, I should say. And so check that out. It gets into the conversation around what took place over the weekend or the past week or so between David Hogg and James Carville. So anyhow, check that out. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, short version and long version. The Joan Esposito show, Live, Local, and Progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other wonderful shows and interviews. Check out our heartlanddigital.com platform. And one of the things you want to check out now, heartlandsignal.com, is we had the great opportunity to interview Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, and talks about, the administration's success and things that she's working on now that we're in the second quarter and how they're going to be standing up to the Trump administration. So that was the interview we had last week. And there's also a really good piece there on Heartland Signal on X where one of the Minnesota GOP members is trying to roll back protections against forever chemicals, which is something that's going to protect not Republicans or Democrats or independents, but all citizens in the state. And so those are two good pieces there you'll want to check out. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to see what we're talking about. On today's show, our guests will include Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. He'll be with us in the 6:30 hour because we have Mark Doyle, who's the founder of Rags of Honors and Veterans Roasters, will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour, and State Representative Abdelnasser Rashid from the 21st District here in Illinois. State Rep will be with us, so we're looking forward to chatting with them. Today's topics will include, we're going to talk a little bit about colleges reclaiming your power and businesses too. And we're getting together a couple of clips that will speak to that before we have Kurt come on. And at the end, later in the show, I'm going to be reading a letter from a former FBI agent about how he views MAGA. And as I said, make your way to my Substack to give me your thoughts on the article that I posted there as a message to David Hogg and the Young Guns that I put together on Substack. So something you guys, I think, can appreciate. And I'd like to get your feedback on that as well. But to that end, shout out to, Chris Murphy and to Maxwell Frost. Those two, a senator and a representative, are making their way to North Carolina. And they're going to be in North Carolina to hold a town hall meeting. And from what I'm hearing, they're going to hold potentially a couple others in districts that are red districts that Republicans are hiding from, and they're not leaning in. There's a great article in Politicus USA. Jason Easley speaks to that and really gets into the conversation that it's not just Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but there are others, not just Representative Jasmine Crockett, but also now Senator Chris Murphy, who's been very vocal. You saw him as one of the support partners for Senator Cory Booker a few weeks ago when he had his 25-hour marathon event at the Senate floor. And Maxwell Frost, a representative from Florida, they're doing the work. And this is what all Democratic leaders should be doing across the board, whether they are a state rep, whether they are a mayor, a governor, or a federally elected official. They need to be going into Republican areas and speaking to the constituencies there to let them know, we got you. I think that the Republicans who have shied away from or completely taken it off their radar to go into their own districts or into red districts to talk to the constituents are showing their true colors. They're showing exactly who they are. They're showing that they're not the strong, the elected officials that are there to defend their constituents. They're being very intentional about it. They're being very intentional about their unwillingness, their fear, or as Lisa McCarthy. I guess we could say Lisa Murkowski did show up in her district, but the problem is she talked about everybody's afraid and worried about retribution. Well, that's not why you're in the job, to be worried about. I mean. And she said, as I read it, that they're afraid of what Donald Trump will do. They're afraid of being primaried by the monies of Elon Musk. And the third thing is, and this is the one I can understand, is that they're afraid of MAGA becoming violent. Okay, I get that. The third part I get. If you're strong enough, if your relationship with your constituents is strong enough in your district, and in your state, you should never be worried about being primaried or someone like Donald Trump coming after you. And I'll say that doesn't mean it's not a reality or a thing that could happen. I'm saying you shouldn't be worried about it to the point where it stifles you from doing the work that the constituents that are currently in your pool elected you to go and do. They didn't elect you to be afraid. They did not elect you to say that we're worried about retribution. Wait a minute. I get the personal safety of those three things that were highlighted in this piece that I read. The first two, I hear them. They are realities. Trump may want to come after them from a political standpoint and block their ability to be effective. Not that they're particularly effective now. I get that they're worried about money from a primary, from an Elon Musk type. I get that. I get it. But more importantly, I understand that there could be fear of MAGA causing some sort of violence or trying to cause some sort of physical harm. I understand those things. That particularly, the third one, would be more near and dear to all of us, irrespective of. No one should be in a position where they're being threatened physically or some sort of harm in any position. So that one I can understand. I can lean into and partner with her and others on. But I'm worried about being primaried, or I'm worried about what Donald Trump is going to say about me. You should stand up to him and say, bring it on, because you didn't get elected in this district. I did. And that's not arrogance. That's the fact. And that's where she should galvanize her constituents to let them know, I got you. Yes, it's a scary time, but I got you. And she'd end up being looked at, I believe, in a better way, internally and externally. Now, the whole feed and lead to this is what Senator Chris Murphy and Maxwell Frost are doing. They're going into red communities, red districts, and saying, we're here for you. I've said this for weeks now. Every single Democratic elected official on any level should be talking to everybody. That includes right here in Chicago, Mayor Johnson should be talking to the folks that voted for him, the folks that voted against him, and the folks that didn't vote. Three different groups. The ones that voted for him, that got him elected, the ones that voted against him, and the ones that stayed at home. He should be talking to all three of those folks, and he's doing that. Here's the thing. Those who are hating on Mayor Johnson, the one thing that's changed since late fall last year, around the election time, and even a little bit before that, because I did speak to this. He recognizes that he's got to communicate better, and he's doing it to all of the city of Chicago and the region, for that matter. And when he's had the opportunity to be on a national stage, he's taken advantage of it, not just for the good of Chicago and the state of Illinois, but for the country. And he's spoken to that. More Democratic elected officials have to do that right now. There's no stone that can be left unturned and, kicked over. No stone. I can't even say stern. Stern. I sound like Medea. You're going to church this morning? Sorry, guys. No stone should be left unturned or not turned over or whatever. Kick the stones to the curb. Can't say it right, but my man Henry is helping me with some laughter. You all understand what I'm saying. And we're going to be saying this over and over again. I read a handful of articles yesterday, and every one of them talked about that. Our good friend Sarah Jones from Politicus USA speaks to that as well. No stones can be left unturned. See, I paused, and Henry did exactly what he does. He always keeps us on the rails. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what I was saying with regard to colleges and their strength and their power. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. I forgot to say, if you're in Chicago or in the area and you're commuting this morning, be careful. A little wet out there. I saw an accident this morning, literally on the expressway. It happened. It couldn't have happened a minute before I came through this one part of the expressway. So be careful if you're driving. Be careful if you're commuting, Uber, Lyft, whatever you're doing, bus, train, just be careful out there, y'all. If you're stepping out of your car, you're stepping from one thing to the next, the platform, the bus step, just be mindful. It's that time when oil and water aren't mixing really well. So everybody, please be careful wherever you are, but particularly if you're in the Chicagoland area and you're commuting. Okay, we've got 2 clips that we're going to try to get in, and if we kind of bump into our man Cliff, I keep calling him Cliff, our man Kurt, we're going to build that into the conversation. So I said this about 2 weeks ago, that businesses need to reclaim their power too. If business leaders said enough is enough, and that's part of one of the clips that we played yesterday, Henry was talking about how there's 2 factions in the Trump administration right now. One that are the real hardliners, I'm going to use my term, and one that's the less hardliners that basically said because of what's happening in the bond market, you need to back off of the tariffs. And that group won. The slightly less crazy group won. And that's at the core of what happened. And it's in one of the clips that I played. And you guys, if you wanted, we can send it to you. But I've been saying also that schools, universities, because right now, it came down that Harvard is suing the Trump administration, as they should. They should sue his behind hard with the bring all the heat. They're the richest university on the planet. Go after him relentlessly. They got power. But here's what I want to talk about. We've got 2 clips that we want to get in for you guys to hear this morning about why that's a strategy. I believe that businesses could be suing the Trump administration if they wanted to really have an impact. But universities certainly can, because they've got a unique power. They've got a unique ability, and they've got a ton of money that they can use to really mess and muck things up for the Trump administration. We got 2 clips that we're going to go to. The first one is Lee Bollinger, who's talking with Fareed Zakaria about universities.
This is a kind of weaponization of the government's power. Can a university fight it?
So I think the universities have no choice but to fight it. Censorship is really what has been the core of First Amendment development over the last century. What has not really been tested is the massive power of the government, not just to directly censor and punish people and put them in jail for ideas they express, but the use of the funding, the contracting, the other, the administrative state to really accomplish the same goals as direct censorship. And so this poses a very serious problem for universities, for the society, also for the courts to figure out what are the limits of the government's use of these kinds of powers that really could be just as serious, if not more serious, than direct censorship.
You're a very distinguished First Amendment scholar. When you look at this situation, do you think Harvard, who was almost certainly going to sue the federal government, I assume, do you think it will prevail in court? Do you think the universities have, a strong case?
I do think they have a very strong case. I mean, there are two fundamental problems here under a First Amendment analysis. One is, to what extent should the First Amendment sort of supervise or control government efforts through their funding, contracting, and other powers to stop the government from limiting speech in that form? Again, First Amendment has many cases that say the government cannot directly censor speech. What about the efforts of the government to censor speech by employing its powers of dispensing funding? I have no doubt that as applied to these actions of the government, that universities and Harvard would win. The second issue is the extent to which universities should be entitled to a special status under the First Amendment. And there are some great opinions and some decisions that really do recognize the special role that universities play in advancing knowledge, the search for truth, and therefore are entitled to special protections. Those two doctrines, those two areas of the First Amendment are really what's at stake here. I'm fairly confident that at the end of the day, Harvard and other universities would prevail on these claims.
And so what's important about this is that in the context of what's the basis of the lawsuit, it's First Amendment rights. And the university should have a university should have a unique ability to speak to the audience, to speak to the community, which are the enrolled students, whether it be a private or public university. There are private universities that they're not going after, and as a result of that, I think there's going to be standing. There's no question there is standing here because of the fact that other universities that are, let's call it this way, faith-based universities are not being targeted, and so they're going to have to explain why they are not being targeted by comparison to a Harvard University. And I know that some are saying it's because of their positions with DEI, their positions with anti-Semitism. Well, some of the Christian universities are highly skeptical, in my mind, or on the margins when it comes to their conversations around other faiths that are not their faith, yet alone getting into the conversation around anti-Semitism. All right. So what Lee Bollinger said was very, very enlightening and something to be aware of. And it gets into something that I've been saying in terms of collective energy. I talk about this a lot. We can go out on our own and do things we should in terms of this fight, and we want to connect and partner with the people that are in our cadre, that they're part of our cohort. The universities, I believe, have a unique opportunity and power to do this. And putting together PACs is one of the things that I've been talking about for a while. And Lee Bollinger talks about it just now in terms of the clip with Fareed, in terms of Harvard University's suit against the Trump administration. But there's another level that I think this can and should go, and it's when the universities come together using their force, their energy, their power, their money to stir things up for the Trump administration. They are a powerful group of entities, if you want to call them that, or businesses or whatever, but they need to use that power, and they've got it. And Rachel Maddow talks about this in terms of pulling together what we would call, what she's calling, all of us that are leaning into this, College Mutual Defense PAC. So we're going to play this clip for you, and then we'll chat a little bit about it on the backside.
Last night, the Faculty Senate at Michigan State voted that their school should join the other schools in the Big Ten in a totally non-sports related agreement. The faculty at Michigan State voted last night that their school should join with all the other schools in the Big Ten in what they're calling a mutual defense compact, a mutual academic defense compact. And what that means is kind of what it says. When Trump inevitably comes after one of the schools in the Big Ten, be it Michigan State or Rutgers or Ohio State or UCLA or USC or University of Washington or any of the other schools in that conference, the idea is that all the other schools would agree to help that school defend itself and fight back, which would mean lawyers and experts and advocacy and lobbying and public relations. They would all do it together. They would treat Trump attacking any one of those schools as an attack on all of those schools. Any school that wants to survive what Trump and Vance are doing here, what their agenda is here for American universities and colleges, any school that wants to survive what's coming their way better find a way to not have to fight alone. And so, yes, now we are seeing all kinds of colleges all across the country move toward mutual defense pacts with other schools. Basically little NATO treaties for all the colleges. An attack on one is an attack on all. I will tell you, I have no connection to any of these efforts, but I would just say as an observer, just speaking strategically, my only note on this might be go faster. Once he's targeted you, it's too late to have a mutual defense treaty in position. You have to have these things in place ahead of time before he signs that executive order or yanks your funding or does whatever he's going to do to you. Time is short. River rises.
Yeah, because so do it now. And that right now, do it now, do it faster should be the mantra for, as I go back to what I opened with in terms of Senator Chris Murphy and Representative Maxwell Frost. Do it now. I said this to Representative Nikki Brzezinski, and I've tried to say it to each and every elected official that we've had on the show. Do it now. Galvanize with the people that are part of your party, that are part of your group, whatever you want to call it. And first of all, let them know that we've got your back. I know there's some people out there that are sitting on the sidelines. I get that. I'm no disrespect to anybody that's made that decision. I understand. But I'm trying to say to the elected officials, to the Harvard universities of the world, to the Pac-10, the Big Ten, the SEC, all the rest of the conference, sports design conferences that have students that are not participating in sports. They're there to get an education and not be participating in sports. Or if they are, collectively, there are millions of people and families who are impacted or will be impacted by what this administration is probably going to try to do. So get ready now. Build these alliances now. You already know who to contact at an XYZ university. You guys you talk to each other all the time, baking out your schedules for sports, the different sports teams. So the presidents of and the boards of and the chancellors of universities that have big conferences in the United States should be banding together now. Chairmen of the board, CEOs, and boards of directors of companies should be banding together now. Members of the House of Representatives and senators don't need to wait on us. They need to be doing what Murphy and Frost are doing and doing it right now. Banding together and going into the cauldron and being ready to fight against what this crazy lunatic is doing. He needs to be politically punched flat in the face, break his nose politically. Those are strong words, and I said politically to make the point that I'm saying politically. And that's the power that they have, Henry. They have to wield that power. And I just got a text. Every Ivy League school, every SEC school, every Big Ten school, every Pac-10 school, every big conference has a tremendous amount of power to wield. All the HBCUs, and let me not get upset anybody in that space, all come together right now and say, no, we're going to create our own firewall to be ready when he starts to try to drop these bombs. Because here's what happens. Donald Trump doesn't handle distraction well. So when he starts to come at people and other universities, get him distracted. He's already on his heels with the economy because of these tariffs and with immigration. So if he starts coming after more universities, keep him on his heels. Henry, he doesn't do well because those heels and his shoes don't tilt the right way when he's got to be on his heels. I believe. Now, y'all may disagree with me in this space, and I'm fully aware of that and respect that. I'm saying we have to not just stay back, lean back, and wait. We have to lean in. And some people go, well, true, that's not that we should be attacked. Listen, you come up with the plan. I'm trying to come up with the plan, and this is I'm riding to some extent on Rachel's coattails, but I said versions of this a few weeks ago about businesses, and now about universities, particularly given that Harvard is, in the sights of the Trump administration, and Harvard's pushing back and suing. Band together, y'all. You got millions of students, you've got millions of families, and you got billions of dollars to fight this and be prepared to fight it. All right, Henry, let's take a quick break. I know that Kurt's on the line. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Advertisement sponsored by Allied Injury Group, not available in all states. This important message from Allied Injury Group reminds you that if you or someone you love was injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, you deserve financial compensation for your medical expenses, lost wages, pain, and suffering. Don't rely on insurance companies to look out for you. If you haven't spoken to an attorney, call our legal experts now. Work accident, truck accident, collision with an uninsured driver, or a slip and fall. Allied Injury Group has helped clients win hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. They're available 24/7 to take your call and fight for you. Remember, if you or someone you love suffered injuries in an accident that wasn't your fault, like being struck by a drunk driver, a collision with an 18-wheeler, were a victim of workplace negligence or more, get the financial compensation you deserve. Call Allied Injury Group for a free consultation now.
Call 800-818-2581. That's 800-818-2581. Again, 800-818-2581.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, low near 54. By Thursday, sunshine, high of 76 degrees. Friday, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy skies, and a high around 70. Saturday, sunshine, high 57. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. One of the things that there was a great comment that we and the media should be, particularly in progressive media, should be banding together as well. And I agree with that. Thank you for that comment and that text, 727. I appreciate what you're saying there. And that is a message that we should be galvanizing around ourselves. And when I was speaking about the universities and different schools and how they go forward, when I talked about or made reference to anti-Semitism, I'm talking about how the schools, from a standpoint of free speech, part of what the Trump administration is trying to do is saying that Harvard is harboring those who are advocates of anti-Semitism. And that's going to be part of the message that they're going to try to put out, that when there's protests on campus about what's happening in the Middle East, that if a university allows protesting of what's happening in the Middle East, no matter where you sit, I'm just saying this in terms of a matter of text and fact, that's what they're trying to go after. They're trying to go after universities that allow for freedom of speech to take place in terms of protesting against what's going on in the Middle East, specifically in Gaza. And so that's where this is coming from. I'm not taking a side here. Taking down people, killing people, hurting people is not good, no matter how we look at it. And that I'm an advocate of peace and a ceasefire. I've said that before. So I'm not going to get in that. That's not where I was going with the conversation. I'm talking about the universities pulling together, banding together, and to what Rachel was saying, using it as an opportunity to mutually defend each other. And I think that that's a conversation that we all should be having and pushing our elected officials to be taking that kind of position and having that kind of message. So let me just make sure that that is clear in what I was talking about a moment ago. All right. No further waiting this morning. We have as our Wednesday guest, a little bit earlier than normal, our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. Good morning, Kurt. And hey, Diane, how you doing?
Good morning, Richard, and good morning to Ann.
Got to that one.
Great.
Got to that one early. So you doing good?
Yeah, doing great. Great.
Awesome.
Not so good because I got to do yard work today, but hey,
Well, hopefully, I know.
And about this.
Listen, you guys don't know. I love doing yard work. Kurt can't stand doing yard work.
I despise it.
So we've had our mutual disagreements about the liking of doing yard work in the past. So anyhow,
right.
Oh man, what a week! As we always say, what a week. Craziness.
Yeah, you know, we talked to each other earlier in the week, or you'll send me like a text this week and say, hey, that'd be a good topic to talk about. And I'm like, yeah, well, let's just wait and see what happens. And that's because every day there's a new development and a new story. So,
yeah.
But we have to talk about them all. So
I think that's the key, is that we have to talk about them all. And to some extent, some take a little priority over others. I think any of the ones that are directly impacting people's lives, people's safety, those are the ones that we definitely want to talk about early. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that others are not as important. Guys, you know that Kurt's in the state of Indiana, and he has his thumb on the pulse of a lot of things that are happening there. That's my definition. I know he won't take that cape on, but I believe that is what I see, that he has his thumb on the pulse of a lot of what's happening. And we were able to have last week a great interview with Jackson Franklin, which was awesome. And you saw the article that I posted on Substack regarding a message to David Hogg and the Young Guns. And you've been also really monitoring what's happening within the state as it relates to budgeting, specifically folks and how they're getting paid that are elected officials. And that's what Kurt was referring to when I said that would be really something interesting to talk about. What have been your findings? What have you kind of rested your eyes on when it comes to what took place recently?
Well, I appreciate the comments. I mean, I'm trying to get my finger more on the pulse of Indiana, and Substack has given me an avenue to do that. And I know a lot of people are like, Substack, what's that, and all that, and I was confused about it at first, but it is an actually great arena to be able to get information that definitely leans more to the left and to the liberal point of view. Great articles, and it gives an individual like myself who has not had a lot of experience with writing and expressing my opinions on paper in the past, but I've been able to do that. And one of the things that I have been focused on with my Substack is Indiana and the leaders in our state and the legislation that they're passing and the things that they're doing. And one of the ones I put out was I titled it "The State of Indiana," and it was all around this SB1 bill that our ridiculous Governor Mike Braun presented to the homeowners of Indiana as a tax property tax income savings bill, but it's a scam, and it's actually going to cost Hoosiers more in taxes in the long run. Some estimations are it's going to increase taxes $1,300 to $1,500 for Hoosiers in the state because of this ridiculous tax bill. So,
it's a bill that's in the Senate. Is it in the Senate now in Indiana? Where
it's passed?
It's passed. Okay.
It's passed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing. So his salary first off went from $133,000 to $220,000. He had a 48% increase in his salary. Okay, he's one of the highest. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 paid governors in the United States now. Okay, Mike Braun. He spent over $118,000 on improvements to his personal home, taxpayer money.
How did he get away?
To his personal home.
How does he get away with that in this environment, though? I mean,
there's nobody to stop him.
Okay.
There's nobody to stop. It's just like our federal government. Why is Trump getting away with everything? Because there's really, there will be lawsuits and court cases brought up, but you know how long that process takes.
Sure. Yeah.
This isn't, the Supreme Court tells you, no, dude, you can't do that, and he does it. This is a state where,
No, I was just going to say. So there are others that also, and talk about this. Others that got increases. I mean, you really leaned into this well in your piece.
Oh yeah, Secretary of State Morales, his salary went through the roof, and then he created a job for his brother-in-law and paid him $110,000 a year. It was a job that didn't exist before. Micah Beckwith went out and bought an SUV, and people slammed him for it. Our lieutenant general, who is an absolute lunatic, people slammed him for it. So what did he do? He traded it in, and he bought a Cybertruck. The people don't understand, and this is what I'm trying to reveal to the nation. People don't understand how bad it is here in Indiana. I mean, I've said this before. I will say it again on every Substack I create. Indiana is the testing grounds for Project 2025. This is the state where our federal government is implementing the agendas for Project 2025 to see how quickly they can take into place or be put into place, and the effectiveness of them and how quickly the results come from them. I truly believe that. Until somebody proves me different or proves me wrong, I will believe that.
Well, and I don't think it's even a question.
That's what I feel.
I don't even think it's a question of someone needing to prove you wrong, because let's just say that Indiana is the third state in that ranking. It's not so much the ranking or you being right or wrong. We know it's happening. You're witnessing it.
It's happening.
You see it. You've been seeing it. You've been watching it, and for a long, long time. So I think it's really more about highlighting it and talking about it, because here's what's interesting. Right here in Illinois, and I've been trying to stay on top of this conversation about Indiana wanting to basically creating legislation to say to neighboring counties that are border counties to the state of Illinois, defect, or you can realign yourself with the state of Indiana. And it's laughable to me, but at the same time, to your point about Indiana being the sort of the testing ground for a lot of Project 2025, that's something that is in Project 2025 is what's the word that they actually use? But I'll use my word, is realigning the districts by basically getting county officials in certain states that are neighboring to your state to join your state. Essentially, a form of defection. And Indiana is definitely
the creation of Gilead.
The creation
of Gilead.
And you talked
That's
about
what it is.
You talked about Mike Braun, and so I'm going to come back to your point about the state being a testing ground for a lot of what's in Project 2025. Well, you saw this, and I certainly saw it, and that's that Mike Braun said, and for those of you who don't know, you should look into this. He just stated over the weekend, was it, or was it the end of last week, that he thinks that the federal government was wrong and should never have allowed, and we should never have voted for interracial marriage. Did you see that? I know you saw that. I shouldn't ask you if you saw that.
Oh yeah.
And so I was I immediately said, well, I guess they want to play that way. Then the best thing that I can do is to not spend any money in the state, if that's going to be the direction that the governor of the state of Indiana goes publicly with and says, I think that the country made a mistake in that space. Okay, Mike Braun. But you're right. It's a testing ground, and they're trying it. The Supreme Court decision of Loving doesn't agree with that. I'd like to see them try to reverse it, and how many people are going to be impacted by that, namely one of the Supreme Court justices.
Yes. But see, Richard, Mike Braun said it out loud. But what people need to realize, this is reality, okay? This is what all of these MAGA Republicans believe. They all believe that. This is the direction that they will eventually take our country to.
Yeah.
This is what Project 2025 clearly states, that the marriage between two individuals should be between a man and a woman, a white man and a white woman. Okay, and people of the same race is basically how they present it. But because let me tell you, their whole agenda is to other every single individual in this country except white Christian nationalists, or what I'm starting to refer them all as Christocrats, because that's what they are. This is their agenda, okay? And people need to wake up to it. Just because Mike Braun said it, because he's stupid enough to say it out loud, that's who this guy is. But they all feel it. Let me tell you something. You don't think Mike Johnson feels that way?
Oh,
you don't think that Tommy Tuberville feels that way? I mean, come on. And I know you don't, but I'm just saying they all feel that way. This is the direction that they are going to take, our country, and this is their main goal,
And it comes back to something that I think is critically important. I mean, we ask this question oftentimes about the why, and we just saw how Trump, Vance, and Musk are talking about the low birth rate in the country, and what their solution is, or their gaming is in that space. Well, the low birth rate in the country is really a low birth rate for ding, 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 the same groups of people that want to force women to have no rights when it comes to their bodies. And that's coming from a particular faction of men that want that to be the case. So, I mean, I know you're saying it in somewhat of a rhetorical sense about what they want to do in terms of interracial marriage. But I laugh at it because I think, well, look at how many white men that are married not to white women that are in the GOP that would be impacted by this. But we already know that they're going to set the bar to and again, listen, I don't want to be reckless here or not paying attention. Many people said that Roe v. Wade wouldn't be taken down. So I'm not going to sit here and say that something like this would not be taken down, because what was enshrined in the Constitution with Roe v. Wade, they were able to get that and put it back to the states, so to speak, if you want to call it that. So I'm not foolish enough to think that won't happen because of the numbers of people that would be impacted by it. Because, to your point, Project 2025 has been very clear that these are the things that they want to do. And going back to your original point about Indiana being a test ground. It wants to make and use states where there's not going to be much pushback, like in Indiana, unless it's coming from people like you, to highlight that these things are happening. That's a fact, and I know you know that.
And how do you do that to a society? You take away their education, you take away their money, you make them poor, dumb, and stupid, and sick. You take away their health care, and they have no fire in their soul to fight. This is how you do this. And you know, the thing on the interracial marriage, is that just white and black people?
Right. Exactly.
Because, what about J.D. Vance?
I knew you were going to do it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, the stupidity and the hypocrisy of these people is absolutely freaking mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you want to walk up to them and smack them upside the head and say, "What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Look at yourself, dude. You're in an I mean, it's so stupid. It's laughable, but it's sad at the same time that people can actually. I mean,
does it break itself down?
What's the word for that? What's the word for that?
There isn't a singular. Here's the thing, Kurt. There isn't a singular word. There are many, many words. I mean, we can let's just really kind of, in the time that we have left, quickly kind of peel some layers back. So then, what do we get into? If you're Irish, you can only marry an Irish person. If you're Italian, you can only marry an Italian person. It's not going to get what it really is all about is giving white men in America, the perceived white European male in America, the power to dictate any and everything. It's that simple. And so whether it be interracial marriage, whether it be the way in which a woman can control her body, and the health care that goes along with that, it's all about white men, feckless white men, candidly, right now, mediocrity, recognizing that their power has been waning for decades, and their fight and their pushback, because there's not any black men on the board it's changed in the last 60 days, almost 100 days since the inauguration on the board and the decision making in Project 2025.
Mm-mm.
There's not. I haven't seen any Southeast Asian men, any Asian men, any men of color, period, that sit on that board in that decision-making council. So
no, it's as vanilla as the street I live on, Richard. So, and I got all these pure vanilla ice creams around here, and then here I am sitting here with chocolate chunk fudge swirl, pecan crust,
Well, but
people over there looking at me like,
who is this dude that doesn't want to do any yard work and cut the grass?
And and I just wave at him and smile. Hello.
Oh man, too much.
In my sarcasm. So, but what you said just validated what I said earlier about white on white, and that's the direction they want to take us. How far? How much do you peel? Where do you stop?
Right.
Well, you stop when you get to the point of white on white.
Yeah.
That's where you stop.
That's exactly right.
And people need to understand that. These people of color or of different ethnicity that are supporting this guy are clueless. Absolutely clueless.
I don't know if it's so. I'll push back a little bit. I don't know if they're clueless, Kurt. I think it's not that they're clueless per se. I believe from the conversations that I've had with people that are of color, of multiple colors, that it is a belief that they're above the fray. It's a belief that it's not going to touch them, and I layer that over to many of our Latino brothers and sisters who thought that it wasn't going to come after them. That being deportation and the ills of that. I think it's some of that is part of it. Not clueless per se, but they feel like, well, it's not going to hit me. And that's been my conversation with people that are of color about this in this conversation about it won't hurt them. So it may be a little bit of both, maybe a little bit of cluelessness in that thought process, but some of it starts with it's not gonna hit me. So maybe that makes them by de facto clueless. I don't know. What are your thoughts as we wrap up?
Well, I appreciate that comment, and I obviously I respect what you have to say. But when they don't think that it's going to affect them, what does that mean?
They've then become
clueless,
that's what I'm saying. By de facto, they then become clueless, or highly
clueless.
or what's the other word I've used? Willfully ignorant and highly arrogant. All the above.
There you go.
So
all of the above.
We can label them with all three. We can label them with all three, my man. Hey, listen, it's coming to the top of the hour, and we've I don't know if we've solved anything this morning, but we certainly let people know that they need to be plugged in, and maybe it's time for some folks to how do I want to put this? Maybe it's time for some people to reread some of the things that they forgot about in the past, and start with the Constitution. Let's get people to reread the Constitution and take some time and understand what that document is supposed to mean to us. But we have to keep on our fight.
So many have forgotten about it.
So many have forgotten about it. Civics 101.
Yeah.
Kurt, listen, man, it's great to have you on as always. And thanks for being willing to bump up your time a little bit this morning, so that we were able to get Mike Doyle on and Representative Rashid on this morning. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you having me on. So anytime you need me to do anything other than, calling in on a Sunday night when I know you would be lying to me, but hey, I would do it. So you know that too.
Helping me with the yard work.
Yeah, well, I'll help you. I'll come sit in the lawn chair and say, hey, Richard, you missed that
over there. All right, man. Good to hear your voice.
Have a great day.
I will. You too. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Kurt.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
That's Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. We found each other on social media, and the dude brings the heat every week with his videos that he posts on social media. And now he is my buddy on Substack and posting articles, and just really a good dude that's out there in the fight. And you want to have that kind of person, on your team. And I'll raise this up to the point I was making before about universities. You want to bond with the people who are moving and fighting in the same direction. We're not going to agree on everything in the way in which we deliver, but the goal is to fight together rather than against each other. So with that being said, let's take a break, Henry. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today, so they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find an amazing candidate fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Catholic cardinals transferred the body of Pope Francis to St. Peter's Basilica during a ritual ceremony Wednesday. The pontiff will lie in state for 3 days to allow the public to pay their respects before his funeral on Saturday. AP's Charles de Ledesma reports on talks in London over a Russia-Ukraine peace deal.
A planned meeting on Wednesday between top US, British, French and Ukrainian diplomats to push for a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine has been scrapped at the last minute amid little sign of progress in international efforts efforts to end the war. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy announced the talks in London would involve only lower-ranking officials after the US State Department said on Tuesday that Secretary of State Marco Rubio was unable to attend because of a scheduling issue. Rubio's abrupt cancellation raises doubts about the direction of the negotiations and comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ruled out ceding territory to Russia as part of any potential peace agreement, calling it a non-starter.
Police and soldiers are still searching for the attackers responsible for killing at least 26 tourists visiting Baizaran Meadow in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Multiple checkpoints have been set up across the region. Police call it a terror attack and blame militants fighting against Indian rule. An Olympic watchdog embroiled in scandal has fired its chief operating officer.
The U.S. Center for Safe Sport has fired CEO Jerice Colon. Colon's departure is the latest and most visceral sign of a crisis that began after revelations the center had hired an investigator who would later be charged with rape. The center announced Colon's departure in an email sent to the Associated Press on Tuesday. It brought an abrupt end to a tenure that began in 2019 when she was hired to help bring the then 2-year-old center, which was established to combat sex abuse in Olympic sports, up to full speed. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
This is AP News. Ben Thomas reports a federal judge has accused the Trump administration of acting in bad faith in the Abrego Garcia deportation case.
A federal judge has given the Trump administration until Wednesday evening to explain exactly why information about steps it's taken to free Kilmar Abrego Garcia from prison in El Salvador should be considered state secrets. Abrego Garcia is the Maryland man mistakenly deported more than a month ago. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes has previously ordered the administration to provide the information, and in an order Tuesday wrote the government has sought refuge behind vague and unsubstantiated assertions of privilege for weeks. She accuses the administration of using those claims as a shield to obstruct discovery and evade compliance with the court's orders, calling it a willful and bad faith refusal. She adds that ends now. I'm Ben Thomas.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, low near 54. By Thursday, sunshine, high of 76 degrees. Friday, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy skies, and a high around 70. Saturday, sunshine, high 57. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
Spring into deals with fresh savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Stay Green or Premium 2 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 35% off select major appliances and save $50 on every $500 you spend on select LG appliances. Shop in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/30. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate at Lowe's.com for more details or qualifying items. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Chew's Views, 773-763-9278. It was great to talk with Kurt and his brand of what we got to get done, y'all, and paying attention to what's happening in his state of Indiana. So kudos to Kurt for the work that he's doing there and being with us this morning. So you guys know what's happening with this White House Correspondents' Dinner. They're firing back. The comedians are. It's time that we take back the mic and brutally mock them in the process. Not the comedians, but the White House and their craziness. Join the Political Voices Network for Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner pay-per-view Saturday, April 36th. What did I say? Because it's right here, April 26th. That's this Saturday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. WCP's own host and WCPT's 20th anniversary on Saturday, May 3rd, Hal Sparks. It's going to be one of the voices and many more. To catch Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner live on Saturday, April 26th, instead of that other thing, stream it on demand for just $20.26, because that's a good number to think about. Head over to meethook.com/not. Again, that's meethook.live. I apologize. meethook.live/not to get your pay-per-view and join us in supporting free speech. Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner, for Americans who aren't afraid of comedians and free speech. Contests running on WCPT are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household, void where prohibited, and listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. And first caller, you'll get a free streaming gift for the pay-per-view event. So give us a holler, tell Henry I'm first, and we'll get you one. So there you go. All right. A little bit of craziness this morning, and always fun with my man Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. And we, how can I put it this without taking up too much more time? Our guest here in the 7 o'clock hour, Mark Doyle, is the founder of an organization that says one thing very, very clearly. We have to make sure that we lean into and take care of our veterans. And they are a group of folks right now that are being mistreated, trash talked, disrespected by this administration. And I mean, I'm being a little bit partisan here with the dude who's not necessarily partisan, but that's what's happening to our veterans. But Marcus said, we're going to do something to make sure that our military vets have something special in their lives. And he is the founder of, as I said, founder of Rags of Honor and Veteran Roasters. Welcome, Mark Doyle, to the show. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you very much.
Are you kidding me? First of all, I like coffee, so that's a good starting point for the two of us. But I like what you're doing, and I'm one of those guys. You know, I didn't serve in the military. I have family members that have. My brother-in-law, my sister, Marine Corps and Navy, respectively. Gentleman that I host a show and have kind of got my start with WCPT. His name is Eric Grant. He hosts a show on Sundays called The Family Meeting. And Eric didn't serve either, but he went to Howard University, where a lot of his college mates did serve one way or the other. And it's right there in D.C., so he had a lot of experience in college and interacting with military men and women and veterans. And he gets really, really, really PO'd when veterans don't get the support that you guys deserve. So I applaud you in the work that you're doing, and like you to tell our audience a little bit about Rags of Honor and Veteran Roasters.
Great. Thank you. Again, thank you. So Rags of Honor is an apparel company I founded when I got back from Afghanistan. But I was there as a civilian. In 2010, I was embedded with a task force called Task Force 2010, and our job was to do flow of funds analysis on U.S. contracting dollars that were being extorted all across the battle space. And after a year on the ground with young men and women who were on their second, third, and fourth and fifth tour, I returned to Chicago. And just for a little bit of context, I mean, it has been a long time. It was over 20 years of two wars. But at the 10-year mark, you started to see the increase in suicides, the increase in homelessness. And when I got back here in Chicago, there were 2,000 homeless veterans just here in Chicago. There were back then about over 300,000 homeless for just one night. And what animated me was the fact that I had witnessed about $1 billion a month to clothe, feed, and train the Afghan army and police. You come back here, and we have men and women living in shelters, women living under bridges. And so I just one day had the idea to try and do something that I could do, that I could control, that would make a difference where we live here in Chicago. And so I had the idea to start a silkscreen and apparel company. And frankly, without a business plan, took the money that I made in Afghanistan, paid taxes on it, and to this date have used every penny that I made there to fund Rags of Honor. And we just went to a local shelter on the west side called a Safe Haven, on whose board I now sit, and said, I want to hire, get me 4 or 5 or 6. And I actually sat down, had the idea, found 6 veterans, all of whom were young, under 30, had served multiple tours, all had a story, but all sort of a similar story, came back, didn't have much money in the bank, had some issues, often got drunk, lost their license, couldn't work, and they ended up, living in a shelter trying to restart their life. I found a Marine Corps veteran who offered to let me put them on my payroll, train them in his little facility for a year. So that was from 2011 to 2012. We just put them on a payroll, and they went and learned how to do silk screening. And then we built a website, and we just went to work. And we, in the last 10 years between both companies, we've hired 110 homeless veterans. And in 2015 or 16, we had the idea to start a different vertical. And the term Cup of Joe has its derivations in the U.S. Navy. And my wife, Kip, who is like-minded as well, she's a documentary filmmaker. She's just finished 2 films on veterans, said, I was a little bit tapped out, frankly. She said, I've got some savings. She took her money, and we started Veteran Roasters. And prior to COVID, we had 9 full-time working at the roasting facility. We got banged up a little bit, but we kept our doors open, and we're still on our feet, and we're growing again. And so we created a nonprofit that sits above them that help veterans that we hire and veterans across the country. Anybody but can call us, and they do, and they email us and say, I'm in trouble, and we help people with security deposits. I will just tell you, there's a fellow who found me online, and he and his wife are struggling. He's really struggling now. I listened to what your last guest. I listened to the stories and what's happening in Indiana, and we're seeing it in the VA, and so I am tracking with you on that. But this fellow's waiting for his check because they're not coming on time, and he literally can't pay his phone bill, and he and his wife lost their jobs, and they were living in their car till I got them a hotel room for a month. And so this is what we do. We created an ecosystem that helps you. If you work for us, we hire you. We pay you up to $30 an hour to work in the silkscreen business. And over at the coffee shop, we teach you how to roast coffee. We teach you how to, do the fulfillment for Walmart, we're in about 4,000 stores for Walmart now. And then if anybody's in need and we have the money, we just help veterans across the country. So everything we do is just to hire, train, and help veterans.
Well, that's a big cup of Joe. No pun intended. But that's a big old cup of Joe, my man. And listen, Mark, one of the things that I think we all recognize, and if folks were listening to what you just said, I'm going to put a word on this that I think is a universal word that we have to make sure is embedded in who we are as a society. And the word that it came to my mind is dignity. And what you are doing, and again, I'm not going to put words in your mouth or over-label, but what I felt from what you just described was helping people who have served in our military, helping people reestablish their dignity. And it comes from providing them with an opportunity to do something, to get paid for doing something, to have a place to be safe, and to know that there is some love and energy coming toward them in their life. And you are ringing loudly the importance of reestablishing and providing dignity to people. Are you feeling that as part of what your message is to folks?
Yeah, it's so funny you should use that word, because if you go to our website or to the back, I want to send you all some coffee, because the least we can do is keep you caffeinated every morning. We use the word that our mission is to hire and train homeless veterans and let them regain the dignity that comes with having a job. Those are the actual words we use, so that is so prescient that is what you would pick up on, because that's the through line in all we do. Just give them the dignity of a job that they earned by serving their country and wearing the uniform. That's not too much to ask. Don't let them live in the streets. Don't let them. I don't want to get over political either, but I will tell you that what is happening now is so egregious in the veteran community. There are veterans who recently are pulling into VA parking lots and taking their own life in the parking lot.
Yep.
Because they can't get through. They're shutting down VAs around the country. They are letting staffers go. Checks are going out late. All the things that you've already discussed. And so that is the through line. Just the dignity. Just give them the dignity they deserve.
And that's one of the things that, as a society, we have to have it as a more than just a dartboard item or whiteboard item in our day-to-day activity. We have to find ways in ourselves to give people dignity. Some people say give people grace every single day. And I think a lot of times it's reaching out to people who might be that stranger. And I know you probably encounter this every single day in your work, as you're reaching out to folks that you don't know, but what you have in common with them is the goal to help them get to the next level, to get out of the rut that they fell into. They didn't choose to step into it necessarily. And I think that's maybe I'm wrong here, but so help me out in what I'm about to say. I think a lot of people forget that not everybody that is in a situation like the ones you're helping people step out of, that they didn't step into that situation consciously. There were circumstances that repeated themselves and got so heavy, and that weight got so strong that they had that they didn't consciously step into this. They were pushed into it by the inertia of this crazy life that we live.
Yeah, to your point, I've yet to find, I'm not saying that person not out there, but I have yet to find anybody who said, I was really, really looking forward to being homeless. I mean, it is everything I thought it was and so much more. There is a confluence of factors that we have seen that end up putting men and women in that position. Oftentimes it is you come out of high school, you join the military, you do 4 or 8 years. The upside about the military is your uniform's paid for, your 3 hots and a cot, you get meals, get a place to live. The downside is you don't make much money, so you often don't save much money. You transition out, you not have too much money saved. Oftentimes, and it's not happening at all now, but one of the last administrations tried to do was to try to prepare people for their transition, because we spend a lot of money on the front side getting these men and women ready to do their job, and on the back side, on the way out, they're often not prepared enough. So maybe they don't have a good resume. They can't really find a job. They're separated from the men and women that they served with, and so they start to get isolated. And then they go out, and I'm just telling you from personal experience. We've hired a lot of men and women who had some problems with alcohol, and they literally crashed their car, and they lost their license, and they couldn't work, and they didn't have any savings, and they don't come from a family that's got any savings. So it's a confluence of actions that end up in a place where they're just trying to restart their life. And we have an all-volunteer military, and so, like less than 2% of Americans serve in the U.S. military right now. So it's borne, the overwhelming weight is borne by a small number of people.
Yeah.
Which is why suicides are much higher in the veteran population than they are in the general civilian population.
One of the things that was a quote that I read by one of your associates. I think it's. Oh, wait a minute! I can't believe it. Was it your wife that said this, or was it another individual that said, talking about it being a precarious situation, using the flat tire analogy? Did I read that? Did that come from your wife?
It was Kip. Yeah, and it was the flat tire analogy where they're already struggling. And we've had it happen. And I get literally, Richard, I get text and emails from people around the country who have found this online and say, my phone's about to be turned up. I need $281, very specific. I got a flat tire. I have to get to work because if I don't get to work, I lose this job, and it's an hourly job. And there's that one thing that compounds. It's the final thing, the flat tire, and they lose their job, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's
and we have seen it.
And I know that the volume of these scenarios are for you guys to some extent have to be teetering on being overwhelming. And I wanted to be careful in how I said that, because I know that you would probably push back and say, yeah, Richard, but the situations that we see are not as overwhelming as those who are living those situations. So not to put words in your mouth, but I know that that what you see is harder than dealing with it in and of itself. So as we go forward, and time is short, and I will tell you that you have an open invitation to be back with us in the future and keep us up to speed on what's happening in this space, because you're doing, I don't always like to use phrases that are coined phrases, but you are truly doing the Lord's work in this space. And
thank you, man.
And that's to be honored. So talk a little bit as we wrap up about Veteran Roasters and how folks can plug into that, how they can get some of the brew. Let's talk about the upside of what you're doing there and what's happening out in the Pullman district.
Great. So the easiest way to get our coffee is to go to veteranroasters.com. You can go to ragsofhonor.us, and it's the same company, so you can buy coffee and T-shirts all on the same website. And we have loads of customers all over the Chicagoland area. We ship all over the country. So if you want a bag of coffee immediately, go to veteranroasters.com, ship one. If you're at the airport and you're flying American, you're at K-15, you can go there and have a cup of joe at Veteran Roasters there. If you are downtown Chicago, we just opened a cafe at 161 North Clark Street, and so you can stop in and have a cup of joe. And in Pullman, thank you for bringing that up. This is a project that we started when Rahm Emanuel was the mayor. That's how long ago it was, when they were looking to try and really stimulate the South and West Side businesses and asked us if we would put a coffee shop in down there. So that's going way back then, and we got some neighborhood opportunity funding. And thankfully we hadn't drawn down on it because COVID came, but we kept it alive. And along the way, we started a beer company too, crazy, called R&R Brews. When Joe Madden was the general manager for the Cubbies, he was the guy who would bring us down on the field and do little videos for Cup of Joe Coffee. And just a wonderful man to help us sort of spread the word. And he wanted to do a beer to help his nonprofit. And so I called our friends over at Haymarket Brewing and said, crazy idea, can we do a beer? And they said, of course we can do a beer. So we created R&R Brews. And we hired a couple of veterans to learn how to brew. And we did the Try Not to Suck German Lager that we sold 10,000. That was his idea. I said, what should we call this? He said, hey, Joe wants to call it Try Not to Suck German Lager. I said, that is a horrible name for a product that you want people to buy. But we sold 10,000 cases that summer. All the money went to our nonprofit and his. And so based on that, we said we went to the state to ask for some money. We went to the city to ask for a little bit more money. And we are building a brew pub, commercial roasting facility, cafe, drive-through with a restaurant, second floor private dining, all for veterans. Never been done before. So this will be the first one ever done in the country. That's all of that under one roof, all serving veterans.
Well, I'm laughing. I'm fighting back some tears, all at the same moment of emotion. Amazing work that you're doing, and I'm going to just put this out here right now, Mike. Mark, you and I have to get together and have a cup of joe.
Love it.
And let's do that sooner than later, because there's a lot that we can talk about in terms of how I want to be able to leverage my blessing of being able to do this show to help in the space that you guys are in. So I've got your number. Henry will get you mine, and then let's make sure that we connect and we have some time to talk about some other things that we can do. This is a national issue, but it's right here. It's born out of what's happening right here in the city of Chicago, and we appreciate you and the leadership that you're showing and the care and the goal to establish and keep moving forward with a person's dignity. So thank you for that, Mark Doyle. We really appreciate it.
Wow, thank you. And I will stay in touch. And I'll give Henry, I do want to get you, when we're offline, have Henry call me and give me your address so I can ship some coffee out to you all.
All right, we'll have him
start your day with.
We'll have him start that off and get that squared away. Mark Doyle, y'all, founder of Rags of Honor and Veteran Roasters. Thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much. Have a great, great day.
We will. Thanks, Mark. Be well. We'll talk real soon. All right. See you, man. Bye-bye.
Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye. That'll make you take a deep breath and make your life count. Wow. Guys, listen. Every now and again, we have an opportunity to interview and talk with someone about just something spectacular that they're doing. I mean, I put this in the vein of our guest tomorrow, Dan Summons, who's the managing director for Blessings in a Backpack, doing something for people that didn't do anything to cause themselves necessarily any particular harm, but they've served speaking of the military. And, tomorrow Dan will be on to talk about making sure that children don't go home hungry on the weekends. I mean, that is doing the work. And y'all need to reach out to Rags of Honor and Veteran Roasters. Just Google them, go online, pull up their information, send them some money, find out how you can get involved, buy some of their product. Yeah, I'm promoting them, but they're doing work that's helping veterans. And that's what I want to see us be able to take on and do. So we're going to take a quick break for a few minutes. The number is 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll be talking with Illinois State Representative Abdelnasser Rashid about education standards. We'll be right back.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, Kane County Dems, Southland Friends of Labor, Democratic Party of McHenry County, and McHenry County Democratic Women. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years. WCPT replay.
We can't just be, thinking about where we're going to move to. We got to move into the mental state of fighting back, keeping our cool, keeping our calm, and hoping that Republicans grow a spine, because it's all on them. It's all on them right now. Mm-hmm. We had no say over these nominees to the cabinet posts, these loyalists that have been thrown into the positions without the necessary experience other than fealty to
bending the knee.
So, yep. But I've been trying.
I thought they were all upset about taking the knee.
Yeah,
weren't they?
They were.
They were really mad about taking the knee.
Yeah, when Colin Kaepernick was taking the knee.
They were not taking the knee. They were
not too happy about that.
Okay, cool.
But I've been trying to, Scott, immerse myself in the positive, because we can't be mired down by everything we're seeing around us. We have to keep.
Otherwise you will go kooky pants.
We'll go kooky pants.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few spotty rain showers early today. Otherwise, partial sunshine develops a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop, low near 54. By Thursday, sunshine, high of 76 degrees. Friday, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy skies, and a high around 70. Saturday, sunshine, high 57. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 57.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views here on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025. What a great conversation with Mark. I mean, wow. The work that he's doing, and thank you for the text messages, giving him shout outs. But get with those guys, and we're going to do our best to keep them as part of our conversation here on Choose Views, because just the work and making sure that they're pushing to create dignity for folks and making sure that they have tools to reestablish their lives. And, what he said about, and I know this probably cut through some serious ice with many people when he talked about veterans that are pulling into Veterans Administration parking lots and taking their lives. I mean, y'all know what I'm talking about. So let's again, this is where we do the work together. We do the work together. And speaking of someone that's doing the work and doing it together is one of our own here in Illinois. State Representative Abdelnasser Rashid is with us this morning, representing the 21st House District. Big district. Welcome to the show, Representative Rashid. Welcome back to the show. Did we lose him? We didn't. Oh, no. Stay with us, Rep, if you can hear us. We might be having a little bit of technical difficulty on our side, so give us a moment to know what happened there. But Representative Rashid is going to talk with us a little bit this morning about a bill that he... Oh, there he is. Can you hear me?
All right. Hey, good. I can hear you. Yes. Good to be back, Richard. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. How have you been doing? How have you been holding up?
Doing all right. We're back in Springfield, just trying to make sure that we do good things before we wrap up session by the end of May.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a handful of your colleagues on over the last couple of weeks just talking about various bills, and everybody's leaning into making sure that they're doing the work to take care of their districts and taking care of the people that have gotten them elected and help them support the bills and work that you're doing. Wrap with us a little bit about your current bill. I think is it House 1859, where you're working on the education standards.
Yeah, exactly. So HB 1859 passed a few weeks ago out of the House, and what it does is it prevents artificial intelligence from being able to replace instructors in community colleges. This is about making sure that we protect the standards in higher education. When kids go to community college, or sorry, when students go to community college, as
we all do that sometimes. Sorry.
Yes, it could. Well, and it's truly not just young people. There are many older adults and of all ages who go to school for various reasons, and so they expect to be able to engage with a person who is not just their educator, not just their instructor, but often a mentor, often someone who gets to know them, someone who gets to help them through difficult times in their lives, and of course someone who's carrying like a living intellectual tradition for the field that they're teaching. And so what we need to do in this world where artificial intelligence and technology is often, entering into every field, we want to protect the quality of our higher education by not having AI replace people. This was a non-controversial issue. My colleagues on both sides of the aisle supported it, and now it's in the Senate.
It cannot be better stated than what you just said. It is about that connection to the educator, the professor, the teacher, whatever word we're going to provide, or for lack of better words, label them with. It's about having that connection and being able to walk up to them and say, Professor so-and-so, I'm struggling with this. I want to get your take on this, and then being able to read the person's body language to understand that they're struggling with that and maybe 3 or 4 other things. And so I break it, and I know you do too, Representative Rashid, to that sort of literal interaction. And I 1,000% support a bill that says no to AI being able to get anywhere close to interfering with that interaction. And it goes 2 ways. The student benefits from that, but the professor, the teacher, also benefits from that because they get reassurance, I believe, that they're having an impact. Is that a crazy way to think?
No, that's exactly right. One question I got was, is this necessary? And the reality is it is, because there's already experimentation with AI-led instruction in the educational context. And what I don't want to happen, and my colleagues agreed with this, was that we don't want community colleges at some point to say, well, we're facing budget cuts, we're facing these issues, and so you know what? One of the ways in which we're going to save is to replace instructors with this fancy AI tool.
Yeah.
And of course, the tech companies and those developing these things are gonna sell it as this phenomenal, incredible thing. But in reality, it would be replacing that fundamental interaction with an educator and with a mentor. And so, no, you're exactly right. This is about preserving that connection. And this is one example of what we need to do to regulate AI. I'm working with the ACLU right now on a bill that would also tackle AI algorithmic discrimination, so that people are not, for example, denied housing, denied access to health care, denied a range of fundamental benefits because an algorithm makes a decision that can impact their lives. But for obviously for the purposes of our conversation today, this bill 1859 was one important thing we can do to at least to preserve the quality of higher education.
Well, and thank you for saying it that way. I mean, I wrote down when you were describing when people say, "Well, do we really need this?" And the words that I wrote down, Representative, are "stem the tide." And what I mean by that, which again, not to put words in your mouth, is if we don't deal with this or look at this very, very open-eyed and honestly, then there will be a time, unfortunately, where big machines are making the decisions, or small machines are making the decisions. And I'm all for progress. Believe me, I've lived long enough to see the benefits of progress. I've also seen the downside of how that's affected employment. When we haven't allowed technology to be a partner, a tool, just another tool in a toolkit. It's not the thing. It should not be the thing. So I appreciate you laying it out that way in terms of, yes, we need to deal with it now so that we don't have schools down the road that say, well, we're suffering from a lack of funding and revenue, so let's cut 10 professors' jobs and replace them with, 1 or 2 AI models. And that can't happen. We can't let that happen. I don't care. There's nothing that these tech bros, and I use that word as an offensive tool because unapologetically, I don't back down from that. Sometimes the tech bro mindset is that we know better than those that are not tech bros. And I know that you don't have to acknowledge this, you have to deal with that from a policy standpoint. But this is
yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
You said something, really, really important, which was, this isn't about removing technology or not allowing AI to be used to be an aid or to support the work of faculty or of students. AI is here, and it's got some wonderful, wonderful benefits that should be utilized. It should not replace our instructors. It should not replace your teachers. And that's the fundamental thing here. I myself have a minor in computer science. I'm a big fan of what technology can do to improve people's lives. But it needs to be done with the proper guardrails to make sure that we're using it responsibly.
You've mentioned that before, and that's one of the things that I love about how you create legislation. It's how do we merge the thing with where we are to improve our journey, and that's one of the things. For those who don't follow Representative Rashid, you really should kind of look into some of the things that you've talked about in that space. Let's use the tools that we have to improve the journey that we're on, and your bills have represented that, and it really does show that you have paid attention to what's going on, not just in your community, your district, but in the greater state and in the country and society at large. So kudos to you in that space. What do you, the bill is moving along, and if there's going to be any obstacles to it, I guess that's the way I can phrase it. What do you think they might be? What do you think might come out of this in terms of obstacles?
Well, there's always a question of what developers of technologies that want to see these fancy AI programs come into the education context and be utilized or acquired by community colleges or universities. That's one potential source of opposition. However, that hasn't really materialized. We haven't seen folks come from the tech industry or others and try to slow down or stop this bill. That being said, it's still going through the process, and I'm going to work with the Senate sponsor, my Senator Mike Porfirio, to continue to advance it and hopefully get it to the governor's desk.
That's fantastic. Are you, once you guys break session in a few weeks, are you going to be holding, and I won't attack you like Nancy Mace attacked the gentleman who asked the question, but are you going to be holding town halls, meeting with constituents? What's going to be sort of how you're spending a little bit of your time when you guys do break in a few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. We will be right back in the district working with people and engaging with constituents. So we'll be holding a town hall to update folks on what we've done in session. I do that every year right after session to give folks, to give constituents information about what we accomplished and what we're still working on. I actually just this past weekend, held a town hall with Senator Porfirio and Congressman Chuy Garcia to share what we've done so far, and also to take, of course, most importantly, is to hear from people, to take their questions. We talked about the need to fight back against what the Trump regime is doing, and I don't use that word loosely. When people are being abducted off the streets, and when Supreme Court decisions and other court orders are being defied, we're not just on a slippery slope toward authoritarianism. I think we've gotten there, and we have to fight back with every tool at our disposal. And the courts are an important way. Protests are an important way, and of course, state legislation. States are going to have to step up as we are doing now to fight back. So that's one thing that was on people's minds at the town hall this past weekend, and it's going to continue to be on people's minds because we are in very, very troubling times.
Without a doubt. A couple questions I want to ask you. I've been wanting to pivot just a tiny amount because of your dedication to education and tools to enhance education, and that's what this bill is sort of the basis of. Harvard University is suing the Trump administration, and I know that you have had a front row seat to the craziness that's rolling downhill from Washington to the state of Illinois. Do you feel that, or how do you feel about where the universities are right now in the country with this attack on essentially their First Amendment rights?
Yeah, what the Trump administration is doing is absolutely outrageous and trying to control universities and tell them how they have to teach and hire based on Donald Trump's ideology and agenda and the agenda of those around him in Project 2025. And so Harvard is my alma mater. I did did my college undergrad at Harvard, and so I was glad to see it stand up to him and to not acquiesce, as we saw with some other universities, including Columbia, which simply gave him everything he wanted. That being said, it's ongoing. I hope they remain strong. I hope that they succeed in court, of course, in the lawsuit that the professors have filed. And we need all of our institutions of higher learning to stand strong and not allow the Trump regime from hijacking higher education to implement his agenda and his ideology.
Yeah, and the state of Illinois' representatives are doing a great job of that. I've spoken with, as I said earlier, a number of your colleagues that have you guys have really been doing a great job, and I want to kind of give you my personal shout out. We were blessed to have Lieutenant Governor Stratton on last week, and we've had others on that are state representatives here in Illinois. And what I mean by that, Representative Rashid, is that you guys are fighting the good fight, as the phrase goes, but you are a kind of a signal, kind of a here's how the work can get done. Here's how we can create that firewall, or our own version of our protective dome from Washington and the carnage that they're spewing out to different parts of the country. And in Chicago, and certainly the state of Illinois, is one of the areas that's on the target list, whether it be immigration and deportation, whether it be federal funding, or whether it just be we're going to investigate you guys because you're in the state of Illinois. So I really appreciate it, and I know your district does, but the greater state does, for how you all have come together and said, we have to fight this fight together.
Yeah, thank you. We have we're elected to do a job and to make sure that we're protecting our constituents, and we take that very seriously. So stay on the lookout for all of the different bills that we're going to be working on through the end of May. And of course, for those who are listening, reach out to us, reach out to your state representatives and your state senators, and of course, your members of Congress, to let us know what you want us to be focusing on and what's on your mind, how we can help you.
Yeah, and I'm an advocate of that in every single show. That is the tool that everybody has in their toolkit right now, talking about tools as it relates to AI, but this is one that everybody has available to them in one way or another. If it's not phone calls, it may be emails, it might be, however they can communicate with a state elected official or federally elected official. Do that, because it is the tool that that's a tool we cannot give up on. I know you got a lot on your schedule, and I appreciate you having some time to wrap with us this morning. If we have a chance to get you back on before you guys break from session, that would be great. But if not, it'd be great to have you back on when you're back in session to kind of find out the status of bills and what's new on your list. But give us a quick rundown. What will you be focused on these next 5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago was our deadline to get bills passed out of the House, and I passed 8 bills. The one that we talked about today, but also 2 bills having to do with public health to protect folks from PFAS, or the forever chemicals that end up in our bioaccumulate in our bodies and have been linked to cancer, thyroid problems, and other issues, and are particularly problematic for children. So I passed 2 bills that are currently in the Senate to protect our public health and protect our water from the dangers of PFAS. I also did pass some technology modernization bills that would help our state government serve people better, and that would extend the artificial intelligence task force that I co-chair. But really, my focus overall is on economic relief. So I was appointed by Speaker Welch a few months ago to the Property Tax Working Group in the Illinois House. I'm one of 11 legislators who's, we're meeting weekly to talk about reforms that need to be made to the property tax system to provide relief to people. That's a major priority for me. I've introduced bills that I'm going to advocate for inclusion in the budget to provide renters with a renter's tax credit because of outrageous increases in rent and folks feeling squeezed. We have to do what we can to help them. I'm working on a bill that would help mobile homeowners, folks who live in manufactured homes, to fight back against the rent gouging that they're facing. I have mobile home parks in my district, and it is really tragic the way in which these private equity groups and hedge funds across the country are taking advantage of them and exploiting them, often lower income communities or senior citizens who are trying to stay in an affordable housing situation. Those are some of my priorities. I'm also working on a bill that I introduced a few months ago that would repeal our state's law that weaponizes our pension fund to retaliate against companies that stand up for human rights. I know that was a bit of a mouthful, but 10 years ago, Governor Rauner signed a law that requires Illinois' pension fund to divest, to retaliate and punish companies that boycott Israel.
Yeah.
The case in point here is Ben & Jerry's, where they decided that they want to stand up for human rights and not sell ice cream in illegal Israeli settlements. And our state retaliated against them and divested from their parent company, Unilever. We need to get that law off our books and put Illinois back on the right side of history and untether our state from the dangerous foreign policy vision of Donald Trump. So those are some of my priorities.
Man, that is a whole, I say this phrase a lot, Representative Rashid. You go to a Thanksgiving dinner, you go to a family meal, and you go from a plate to a platter. So you got a full platter, not a full plate of things that you're working on. So, but we appreciate your service. And a shout out to you and to Jennifer Walling, who Executive Director of the Illinois Environmental Council, we had on Monday talking about your particular bill and the work that you guys are doing there, both inside and outside of government. So you guys are getting it done there to make sure that the thing that we all have in common, which is this planet that we live on and the air that we breathe, is as best possible and not infiltrated with chemicals that are harming us. So appreciate you being with us, Representative. You've always been one that I've championed and believe in what you're doing. And thank you so much for your service and your team building with your other colleagues in the State House. So appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Richard. Always good to be on, and I look forward to being back.
We'll have you back for sure. Listen, go about your day. I know you're busy. We'll reach out to you again and maybe try to get you on before you guys break for session. Sound good?
That sounds like a plan.
All right. Be safe today. Thank you for your service. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah, man, he's from a plate to a platter. But, this is what I think constituencies and individuals want to hear and know, that the folks are working, and that's what he's embraced. And one of the things that he said, and it's not about me being right, guys. Please, I'm backing off my ego here. It's about us being effective. He said, call, get involved, reach out to, bother the hell out of them. Those are my words. But bother the hell out of your elected officials and let them know that they've got to lean in. They've got to do the work. They've got to partner. They've got to come together, Henry, with others in their cohort of elected officials on a state level, local level, state level, federal level. And going back to kind of where we started today in this conversation around what Harvard University is doing in terms of suing the Trump administration, I strongly believe we have to have other universities linked together. And I got a text from someone that said, Richard, not just the big conference universities, but the smaller schools as well. And I hadn't even thought of it that way. So thank you for that reminder. But yes, that too, because it's a tool of massive numbers and energy, and of course money, to band together now. Don't wait for the shoe to fall, as Rachel Maddow said. Get ready now. And I think that this can filter its way or work its way down on a local level. And if we can get that kind of energy from the people that are running universities, from the leadership at universities and colleges and, hell, trade schools for that matter, imagine the power that will come out of that. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I hope I'm on the right track in that space. I believe that it's a tool that we've got to wield. And to the extent where, some universities could go as far as saying, we're not going to participate in certain things if you don't take your foot off our necks, and the list of things can go on in terms of what they can do. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's keep pushing our elected officials, but also, in this conversation now, our colleges and universities as well as our other businesses. And I'll try to put together some more information on how businesses can create a similar kind of pact with one another. They're in competition with each other, just like universities are, but that doesn't mean that they could not create a form of a mutual defense pact or organization. And I know it's a reach, guys. Listen, I'm trying not to take the easy way out. I'm trying to be creative. We have to fight and use all the things that we have in our toolkit. And if it means businesses saying we're going to come together to fight against the Trump administration, then that's what we have to do. And if it means, or here's the other side of this, I think, Trump's going after NPR. So like it was sent to me, we've got to band together, those of us that are in the media in whatever capacity we are, to stand up for each other. And this NPR situation has taken a big loss right now. The complaint from some conservative groups about meaning NPR, has broken campaign, actually they had campaign violations. So it's a federal elections campaign concern. Because of what? Because they had more advocacy for Vice President Harris. So Donald Trump is clearly on a retribution tour, guys. None of this stuff is about fixing anything and making things any better. And, I said I wanted to get to reading this letter, did I put it away? Oh, there, it's right in front of me, Henry. Good gosh. So I want to read this letter because this is a letter that I didn't write this. And I said this earlier in the show. I wanted to be able to put this to you guys before we wrap up today. This is coming from a former FBI agent, and I'm not going to mention his name necessarily. If you reach out to me, I'll send you the link of what he posted. So as we wrap up the show, I just want to kind of bring this to you guys. He starts off by saying, this is a letter to MAGA. MAGA, let's stop pretending you don't understand how the government works. You know exactly what co-equal branches are. You know what checks and balances mean. You're not all as dumb as you pretend to be, at least not when it comes to what benefits you. When the Supreme Court ruled against Biden, whether it was vaccine mandates or student loan forgiveness, you all celebrated it like it was the second coming. You praised the Constitution, you waved flags, you screamed, quote, rule of law, like it actually meant something to you. But now that the same court, stacked with your own guys' handpicked justices, is ruling against your orange messiahs, suddenly it's activist judges. Ignore the courts, dismantle the system. You've abandoned law and order and democracy faster than Trump bailed on Pence on January 6th. Let's say it out loud. You don't want democracy. You want a dictator. You want a king. You want a bloated, spray-tan fascist to rule by decree and punish anyone who disagrees. That's not American. That's authoritarianism dressed up in red, white, and delusion. You want dictatorship to hurt people you don't like. You crave so badly to, quote, own the libs that you're willing to give up your own rights to do it. Just because it kills you inside that liberals are smarter than you. You're not patriots, you're traitors. Traitors to the Constitution, to the rule of law, and to everything this country was built on. You're not misunderstood. You're not, quote, fighting for freedom. You're just maggots gnawing at the carcass of the republic, praying for a king to save you from your own ignorance. Every single one of you. I didn't write it. I'm reading it. That comes from a former FBI agent who has gone on record as saying, I am a Republican, have been all my life. But this is unacceptable. And this is on you, MAGA. So those of us that are in the progressive conversation, what will I say to you today as we wrap up this show? Well, you know what's coming. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union